Oh, hi there. Today I'm going to address the topic. It's not really, big news on the television or anything. It's been made mention of. A few hours ago, it was announced that Donald Trump, later in May, was going to visit Saudi Arabia and Israel and then the Vatican. Mostly to talk about your average sort of things like how to deal with ISIS, relations with Middle Eastern countries, and the usual kind of thing. My theory on it is this is fake news. I made a video before about how I believed Justin Trudeau was not in fact in China when the television was saying he was. There are real reasons why basically they can never go there. A president of the United States can never go to the Middle East. Saudi Arabia is just across the water is Iran. Way too close. It's too hot a topic. I'm not saying high-ranking diplomats and other political leaders don't go to Saudi Arabia, because that's not true, but it's far different a United States president going to the Middle East, Saudi Arabia in particular this time around, than it would be for a Saudi prince to come to the US. Because if you're friends with us then and you have money, you'll be well taken care of in the United States. And we don't have any immediate enemies that are like super close to us. I mean, Donald Trump in particular is bickering with the Mexicans about the wall, but that isn't anything. That's just, business as usual. It's nothing like I'm out to get you, like some of those countries around that whole area in the Middle East. And I also have a theory about Iran that they actually are in possession of weapons of mass destruction, in particular nuclear capabilities. They're right next door to Pakistan, and that is acknowledged even by mainstream media as a country that has nuclear weapons. And the thing is, you can't guard the Iranian-Pakistan border. And then you go, well, the two countries, I'm actually not really sure what their relationship's like. Probably should have researched that before I make a comment on it. But hypothetically speaking, if they're not on the best of terms, it doesn't mean people within the countries aren't willing to do business and broker deals, and that includes selling military secrets. And Pakistan is a dirt poor country. There are some areas within that country that the United States has used drones on and other such. I do believe that within each country there are divisions of enemies as well as allies, because it's a very chaotic region. It's not, one government, one idea, one belief. It's not like that in any country of the world. There's always opposition. And sometimes they hide behind the scenes, sometimes they lay low, but they're there. Anyway, in my opinion, there's no way that the Iranians don't have nuclear capabilities. They're way more on the ball than than Pakistan. I'm not going to say they're that on the ball. They're probably, they probably got a lot of shortcomings. But even so, it's too risky for someone like Donald Trump to go there. If the Iranians had any idea of it, then most certainly it would be worth making an attempt at attacking the United States by attacking the president and That can never happen. There can never be any risk at all. It can't even be 0.0000 me talk for 10 minutes about zeros, 1% chance of the United States president being assassinated overseas. That absolutely cannot happen. And that's something, people don't understand. They watch it on the television, maybe less so on the internet, but the people who watch television, when they hear, oh, Donald Trump's going to Saudi Arabia to discuss the normal sort of things, they believe it. But that's not the truth at all. In fact, if he were going there, let's put that on the table. Let's say he actually is or has gone there. They wouldn't tell us. They wouldn't. There's no guaranteed way that that information could get passed to the Iranians. And it's not like they're the only enemy in the region. So yeah, let's get to Israel. The Prime Minister there is Benjamin Netanyahu. Spends a lot of time in Israel, okay? He's the Prime Minister there. That makes sense. That's his backyard. They have a very good defense system, which is quite effective against the Palestinians because, it's my honest opinion that, the Palestinians aren't particularly smart and they're using relic weaponry from probably Soviet era times. Actually, I'd be surprised if they didn't even know how to build sophisticated weapons of any sort. Anything they have is rudimentary and can easily be swatted away by a country that's on the in crowd like the Israelis. But even so, it's still very close to Syria. Assad, he looks like a Weasley guy, so I don't trust him. But the thing is, he's been on the news too often. And the thing is, there are a lot of political leaders. There's a lot of people in power, mostly in command of armies and things like that. And they make laws. They're businessmen and all sorts of things like that. That you don't know who they are. They're shadows. They exist outside of mainstream media, and these supposed alternate media sources will not acknowledge them, or if they did, they certainly wouldn't know anything about them. I mean, who would? But they exist. And what I'm getting at is even Israel isn't a safe place for Donald Trump. Even with all the weaponry the Israelis have, any promises they could make, it's just, it could never be 100% safe. And it has to be for Donald Trump to go there. Like, I'm the kind of guy who goes, like people say, the Trump airplane. Like it says Trump on the outside. There's all kinds of jokes about it on Facebook. Like on, if he threw out $100, it would make some people happy. But if he threw himself out, it would make the whole country happy. I heard that joke. But the thing is, Donald Trump never flies in an airplane that says Trump on the outside. He never does. It's a complete lie. He can't afford to go in a plane like that. It's pretty unlikely that anything could happen, but still, the possibility is still there. And the possibility has to be zero. There has to be no possibility. I'm not saying, a Chinese air warplanes couldn't take down the Trump plane. Even, just a regular rifle of some sorts, you could probably get one sophisticated enough in the United States or wherever to take down a plane of that size, even that high up in the air. pretty unlikely, but not impossible. And Donald Trump is a brazen man. He's very bold. And when he says things, sometimes they don't pan out. But that's okay because he's got the persona that he can be wrong and it's not that big a deal. He's not like other leaders where if they're wrong, it's a national embarrassment. I mean, you get idiots around here who go, ooh, Donald Trump's a national embarrassment. But even in some little pygmy village in Africa, they know who Donald Trump is. But could any of you tell me who's in charge in Rwanda right now? How about Kazakhstan or Croatia? Do any of you know offhand without looking it up? I bet most of you don't, but everybody knows who Donald Trump is. Because those other countries, they're nosebleed countries. They're nobodies. They don't count for nothing. Nothing good ever comes out of them, and they can't contribute to the ever-evolving global atmosphere and what it means to be a wealthy, prosperous country. None of those places can do it. I do believe that Donald Trump is going to go to Italy, though, to the Vatican, even though the Pope... well, I wouldn't have found it that offensive of a comment, but he said something along the lines of instead of building walls, he should try to build bridges, something along those lines. And I know the Pope was more siding with Mexico on the issue. And Trump retorted with a statement that if ISIS ever got to the Vatican, which would be their ultimate goal, the Pope will have wished Donald Trump was elected. But yeah, this was a year ago when he was just starting out his campaign, which is true. And although Italy is not without its dangers, I mean, there is a mob in Italy for sure, just like there is in every country pretty much. But it's not the same thing. It's a more understandable, you can plan around it sort of event. It's not like Saudi Arabia where something could come out of left field. It's not like Israel where anything could happen. What I suspect, if it's even covered at all, is that they'll show video, very brief, maybe even just like a scene of him walking somewhere with the leader of Saudi Arabia or Benjamin Netanyahu or whatever, and there'll be no landmarks. There'll be nothing to definitively say, yes, he was there. And technically, even if they were, they're getting so sophisticated with computer graphics and things like that they could alter video to make it look like he is there, and your common everyday schmuck will actually believe it. But there's just he's too high a prize, and as I said, there can be no possibility of anything going wrong. The shit hitting the fan would, only begin to scratch the surface of how bad things would get if something went wrong, something was unplanned, and it was negative towards the United States or its allies. And also, they mentioned about Arab leaders being invited towards the meeting in Saudi Arabia, and basically you're a friend of the West or you're not. And if you're not going to be at any meeting where Donald Trump is. That's the bottom line. People don't understand how serious it is to be a president, particularly the United States. Like, even even just doing anything negative towards them can mean a lifetime of bad things happening to you. Not because Donald Trump's, malicious or mean or anything in that sense, but you can't take a swing at the President of the United States. I mean, okay, a lot of people are going, hey, people are making fun of Donald Trump all the time, blah, blah, blah. That's not what I meant. There are things you can say and do around presidents or important people in general, and you absolutely can't do that. It can't be done. And they will ruin you for life if you attempt it. And you would deserve it too. But a lot of people don't understand that. They watch Saturday Night Live and they watch Stephen Colbert and they think, oh yeah, this Donald Trump is a joke. We can just make fun of him and do whatever we want, and nothing will happen. People they believe the lies that are told by the media and by people around them, because you'll get people who've been around the block, right? And they've only heard one circle of lies their whole lives, and they believe it. So the very concept of the news station saying Donald Trump's going to Saudi Arabia, and the very thought that somebody may come up with the idea, no, he's not actually going there. It's going to be going over a lot of people's heads. They're not going to want to believe it. And you can't talk sense into them. You can't reason with them, because most people's mechanisms for dealing with arguments they don't agree with is getting mad and stomping off. I admit that is tempting sometimes, particularly when it comes to eating meat. I'm not going to get into that, but I'm just saying that as an example that you can use deductive reasoning to explain things to people, and they will still choose to ignore you. They will still choose to not agree with you, and you can't convince them otherwise. They're just stuck in their ways. They will not change. This is just an opinion. I have no physical evidence. I have no way of attaining physical evidence saying that Donald Trump is not going to Saudi Arabia or Israel or anywhere near there. It's my belief that important diplomats are going there that Donald Trump would actually care about very much. They're important people too, but they're not President of the United States important. Anyway, I will remember that I made this video, and if it's brought up on the news as Donald Trump visits Saudi Arabia, it probably will be, but it's going to be low-key, like when Justin Trudeau went to China. They mentioned it, but it was low-key, and on the news you didn't actually see him, obviously you didn't see him in front of a mass of 100,000 people or something like that, which would show up in China if he went there. If Justin Trudeau went to China, the streets would be packed with people, absolutely packed with people trying to get a glimpse of him. That's just not happening. And the symbolism of him going to a country and not actually being in front of any significant sized crowd defeats the purpose of actually going there. I mean, sure, maybe it seems respectful to go to there if you're talking about serious business or other matters, but no. They'll just go to a neutral location and film, vague clips with nothing descriptive about them or anything to concretely say that's exactly where they are. And they don't really make an attempt to cover that up, but yeah, like I said, some people just won't believe you. You can take a jackass to water, but you can't make it drink. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll make another one today. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.